Howdy, folks. I'm going to read again tonight from Roughneck Grace, and this is a piece called Found It. For over 40 years, my father shepherded a flock of sheep. After he sold the last of them, he cleaned out his vet cupboard and handed me his hoof trimmers. I flipped the leather loop free and the hangles. I flipped the leather loop free and the handles sprang open. I worked them a time or two. The blades were still surgically sharp and met with airtight precision. I hadn't wielded the tool for 20 years, but the drop-forged steel sat in my palm with a familiar heft and set loose a rush of recollection. We trimmed the sheep's hooves once in the warmer months when we wormed them, and once before lambing season when we sheared them. Dad turned this task over to me early, and it was one of those quiet rite-of-passage deals that square a boy's shoulders. Wrastling the sheep around till it was sitting on its hind end propped between my knees, I raised the hooves one by one, inspecting each claw, as indeed the cleft sections are called, for those areas where the hoof wall had overgrown and curled under like a bad Frito. Then I'd fish the trimmers out of my back pants pocket, flip the riveted leather retaining loop loose so the handles could spring open, carefully cut away the excess horn to properly expose the sole, and finish off by pruning the toe tip so once again the sheep was walking square with the earth. To watch a freshly pedicured ewe bolt freely back to pasture made a young boy feel he'd done something useful. I secured the trimmers in the closed position, thanked Dad, took them home, and hung them on a hook down in the pole barn. Some time later, I was struggling to trim the wing feathers of a wayward chicken. I was using a cheap pair of scissors, and it was slow going. On a whim, I decided to try the hoof trimmers. Snick, snick, and the job was done, neat as you please. The next time I saw Dad, it was fun to tell him the old nippers were back in business. This past spring, varmint-related circumstances required me to barber the feathers of 62 chickens. Thanks to those hoof trimmers, the first 61 were done in a trice. Well, not a trice. You don't trim the wings of 61 chickens in a trice, even with top-grade shears. There was dander and cackling, and the chickens got worked up too. But chicken number 62 escaped. No problem, I thought. It'll come home to roost, and I'll catch it in the morning. Trouble was, come sunup, and I had chicken number 62 in hand, I couldn't find the hoof trimmers. They weren't on the hook where they belonged, or in the granary where the cheap scissors hung, or on the workbench, or visible anywhere in the coop. I racked my brain trying to remember where I might have left them. Finally, I figured I must have set them on the windowsill of the coop, and they got knocked off into what polite people call chicken litter. There followed a difficult half an hour in which I sifted through several wheelbarrows full of litter. Nothing. I finally gave up and trimmed the chicken with the bad scissors. Summer passed. Leaves dropped, snow fell, deer hunting season came and went, and it was time to make venison sausage. In search of some extra pails for trimmings, I went down to the pole barn and pulled a green bucket from a shelf. Something clunked within. I looked, and there were the hoof trimmers. For the life of me, I couldn't recall what sort of absent-minded meandering might have led me to drop the trimmers in a bucket and then completely forget I'd done so. These are the moments where a guy wonders if he should be trusted with keeping track of his own socks, let alone children or a bank account. But aha, I thought, I know a memory trick. Balancing the trimmers on my palm, I closed my eyes, vibed on the heft, and waited for the sweet rush of recollection. Nothing. Then I tried it while clutching the bucket. Again, nothing, although I did work up a cramp between my eyebrows right where the furrows converge. It strikes me lately that perhaps the chickens are involved. They have motive. In the meantime, I hung the hoof trimmers on the hook, right where I can find them. At least I think I did. Did I ever tell you my dad had sheep? I've been so forgetful all my life that I don't know that I'll know if and when my memory starts to truly fail. I wrote quite a bit about that actually in the book Montaigne in Barn Boots, which is a book that it's been an interesting book. People who like that book write me long letters, send me emails, very heartfelt stuff. It's not my most popular book, but it connects with people in an interesting way. And I have a whole section in there about being absent-minded and how it can be very maddening. Makes me angry. In the meantime, that was from Roughneck Grace, and that wasn't angry at all, was it? All right. Hope you're doing well. Forward.